How can we better listen to and love our Muslim neighbors? It all begins with getting to know them and hearing their stories. Welcome to the Beyond the Lines podcast. In a world where there are a few loud voices spreading division, we want you to know that there are more of us who want unity and love. We love beyond the lines of differences so that our lives can be full of diversity. Come listen with us as we join a movement of people who are willing to love all people at all times. Today on the podcast, we have a delightful conversation with Imam Didmar Faja. An imam is a Muslim religious leader and teacher. Imam Didmar is one of the leaders of the Multi-Faith Neighbors Network in Phoenix, along with the Jewish rabbi and Josh Prather, who we had on the podcast in a few episodes back. In our conversation with Imam Didmar, we get an amazing opportunity to hear his perspective on September 11th and how his Muslim community was affected by that. We also get to understand better some of the similarities that Christians share with the Islamic faith. And though Christians and Muslims may not agree with each other on every level when it comes to theology, there is a great opportunity for us to live with mutual respect and love for one another. And I can't wait for you to hear today's podcast and perhaps learn a new perspective. Let's dive right in.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Beyond the Lines podcast. And man, I'm so excited today. We are going to talk like we always just conversate and talk about, man, what does it mean to love beyond our lines? And today I have an incredible guest. I'm super excited that we're going to talk to. And that really, for a lot of us Christians, those who follow Jesus, man, this guy is on the other side of the line. His name is Didmar Faja. Welcome. And I'm DJ Hayward, and I've fellow listener, Jonathan, but Didmar Faja, he is an imam at a mosque in the Phoenix, Glendale area. Had a chance to just have a dinner with your congregation, and just got to meet some of the people and see some of your families. Man, it was so fun to see what you guys were doing there and how you welcomed us. Man, you just welcomed me and my wife and our church who came. Just to have a time of community together as people, as just humans. And though we have some really differences in what we believe in our faith and spirituality, but at the end of the day, man, you're a fellow human and someone that we have the opportunity to live in community with one another, love one another well. And I'm excited to hear about how you do that more. He is also part of the Multi-Faith Neighbors Network. If you guys remember, we had Josh Prather, who also a friend of yours that came and talked to us about what he has done in the past and what he continues to do with your group. And you're part of leading that group with Josh, with a rabbi as well. And man, just super excited to hear you. So thank you so much for saying yes to coming to talk to us.
Thank you, DJ Hayward.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you, John, for being here as well and doing this program. Beautiful podcast, and I pray for success.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're glad to have you on, and so excited just to learn from you and hear your perspective and hear about your life and your community that you lead as an imam. So that's I'm just so excited. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So let's just jump right in. Just jump right in. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, I just want to hear a little bit about your history. So growing up, I know you're from a different country. So talk about that. Talk about your transition to America and that whole culture shock. Why don't you talk to me about kind of your growing up?
Yeah, I'll just wrap it up very quickly. I was born in Albania. Albania is a tiny country of 3 million people, located in South Europe, right across Italy, next to Greece. Montenegro, it's another country up north there, Kosovo. So it's an old country. It's a country where the population has been there for thousands and thousands of years.
Wow.
Albanians, we come from Illyrians. Illyrians, it's like I said, it's an old nation, and I was born there during a very critical time for our people and our country overall. It was a time of communism, and communism was a very strange idea. I mean, it sounded good to a lot of people that everybody has to be like equal.
Yeah,
and if we all strive hard, we're all going to eat with a golden spoon. This was their motto, or this was their objective.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But the reality was different, that people, they ended up suffering
Yeah.
in society. And I think I lived in a country that was the most severe when it comes to prohibiting religious practices.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, it was the only country in the world where they issued a law against religion. Like, you cannot pray, you cannot discuss about religion. They said that you have to be careful because even the walls, they have ears, and even somebody can hear you, they can spy on you, and people, they will come and take you and imprison you just simply for talking about God or
Wow.
inspiring people about being religious, or doing prayers or fasting and things like that. So I have heard lots of stories. I know people who've been to jail because of these religious convictions and stuff. My first 3 teachers, they were all anywhere between 17, 18 years in prison to 22, 23 years in prison because of religious convictions, and practices. These were my initial mentors when religion came back in 1990. So it was definitely a very rough upbringing. And then when religion came back in Albania, I was, really, there was a motivation that did not come from anybody, but I believe it was straight from God. The first day when the mosque was opened, and I didn't even know what is being opened. I didn't even know what is a mosque, or where are these people going, when I saw them in the streets walking towards this old building that I have never seen before. I had to walk for about 40 minutes or so to get to the mosque there. There are some small mountains, between hills and mountains, I would consider them. And I saw so many people in the main street going towards that place that I have never been to. I was 10 years old at that time. So, like I said, without being motivated by anybody, but just my heart, I remember that it had an attachment to this new place and to this new thing that is about to come. And I didn't know it was religion and all that. So when I went there and I started hearing people preaching about this, these initial teachers that I had, and when I started hearing some of them also read or recite Quran in a melodious voice, I was like, you know what, this is something really beautiful. And it just grabbed my attention. It pulled me in as an individual, and it just settled in my heart automatically like that. And since then, I've been going to the mosque, and I've been, wanting and wishing always to be connected to anything that has to do with spirituality, being with religious people, praying, activities, religious activities, and all of that good stuff. And I studied in Turkey for about 4 years. And then after Turkey, I came straight here in 1999 in America. At that time, I was 18 years old. And, I studied in university here as well. I did 4 years, and I completed my bachelor's degree in Islamic studies. And then now I'm completing my master's degree in divinity, focusing on Islamic chaplaincy, MDiv, focusing on Islamic chaplaincy.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a life full of new experiences, adapting to new cultures, new countries, Like I said, from Albania, transitioned to Turkey, from Turkey to America. And this is home for me now because I've been here for almost 23 years.
Yeah, and we were talking before the podcast, we were like, how many languages do you speak? And it's a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing. I consider it to be a blessing from God.
Yeah. Americans sometimes they don't need to learn other languages because wherever they go, these people, even if they are not fluent in English, they still try to speak and to communicate with Americans or people from Britain. So it's easier. You get spoiled here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that's true. So when you came over, did you come straight to the Phoenix area? Is that your first
when I came straight to Phoenix area.
Yeah. And what was like your big culture shock moment? Like, okay, it's not what I'm used to.
Okay.
What was that for you?
First, first thing before the cultural shock in Arizona was the heat for sure. The moment I came, you
came in the summertime then.
I came in the summertime. It was right in June, early days of June. And I remember that airport was cool, like AC and all of that. It doesn't give you a different feeling from other places. But then when those doors of the airport, they opened and you're just outside, that's where I was like, like what just happened? I felt like I was inside of an oven or something like that,
Yes.
Oh, man.
So I can identify with you there.
What is the climate like in Albania? In Turkey?
Albania it has all 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Turkey has 4 seasons too. It's similar, at least Istanbul. If you go further east, then it starts getting a little bit hotter.
Okay.
Especially if you're like all the way east in Turkey, it gets hotter. But otherwise, it has a little tropical weather too south of Turkey. It's really beautiful. That's where you have Antalya and you have these beautiful touristic places, you know. And but otherwise, where I stayed in Istanbul was, similar to Albania with all 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So I would compare it maybe to like Little Rock or Omaha, Nebraska, or places like that.
Hey, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska.
You are from Omaha?
Yeah.
All right, I just came from there a few days ago.
Oh, great.
That's why I'm mentioning, because wow.
How about that?
Small world.
Cool. Yeah,
for sure. What is it like coming from a new place in a religion that people really have a lot of fear about? So what has that been like for you? You came in 1999, right a couple years before 9/11 hit, before you guys really started to see a lot of pushback from what you believe. What has that experience been like for you? Maybe even some good things like living here, and even some, man, this has been really hard for people in my community.
So I think this answer that I'm about to give to this question, it's also relating to the question that you asked earlier that I was not able to complete.
Yeah.
It's about those challenges that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'll connect it with both. It's definitely, it was eye-opening to learn about the way how society functions in a better way. The way how companies, even though I was not like a board member of an organization when I came here, or I was not, working for, as a director or anything like that, but just seeing the life, just even working regular jobs that I did when I first came in. When I say regular jobs, like entry-level jobs, that's what I meant. I was really surprised to see how well and how disciplined people are. And following of the rules, even as simple as traffic rules. We come from places where there is,
Yes, I've seen that
people
before.
tend to always, So these were the first things. Like, it gives you the impression that it is an organized, more organized society, more following the rules, and which is something really good, more discipline. But then at the same time, you start seeing some, things that they're not as common over there. Like, for example, one of the things that was shocking to me is the values, like family values, friendship, loyalty, all of these different things. Like when people, they would say something, they would not necessarily do it, within the friendship framework. I'm not talking about following rules and all of that.
Right.
I'm talking now about, within, and again, not everybody, but, I started seeing these things and I was like, wow, this is a little different. So, and again, there's so many things that we can go over. But going back again now to the question about September 11, after September 11, at that time when September 11 happened, I was not fully engaged with the community as a religious leader. I was just, as a matter of fact, I was a photographer at that time. I was doing photography for a company called Life Touch here. Doing schools.
Yeah, the school pictures.
Yeah, school pictures and all that. So, and I remember as I was driving when September 11 happened, and like when I arrived at the school there, they had a monitor, they had, like a big TV, and like everybody was gathered around that, and even some of my colleagues, some of my coworkers who arrived there earlier, they were also in front of this screen, and they were like, my God, doing this. And And I was in shock too. I was like, what happened here? What's going on and all that? And then when I learned about it, of course, it was a time for reflection. It was, the first thing is like, how bad? Because this is a country where I decided to live, right? How bad is for the people of New York, for example, and how bad it's going to be for their families. This is trauma. This is big loss. This is huge, you know. So these were the first reactions right there, and fear at the same time. How can something like that happen? You know, buildings being hit and all that. What's gonna be next? All of these questions, they started, you know, rattling around my brain at that time. But I started getting then involved more with religion in 2002 as being a teacher for Islam and Quran in a full-time Islamic school called ACA, Arizona Cultural Academy. And that's where I started seeing, you know, people talking about, well, they have a hijab, which is a scarf, for example, for ladies, and going out in the street not being easy. And I started hearing complaints, and I started, you know, as I was even closer to the community now, to Muslims, to, you know, I started reading articles about people being hit, people being stabbed, people going through a lot, you know, after September 11, being accused, being even murdered, you know, in some cases, being mistaken in some other cases later on, for example, with somebody who had a turban on,
right?
And that person was not even a Muslim, but haters, they went there, they killed that person thinking that he's a Muslim with a turban on. He was a Sikh, you know, from the Indians. So all these kind of crazy stories, and, you know, I was hearing, especially during those first years. So it was really a shock at that time. And
now, when you mean shock, like shock that, I mean, obviously it's a shock that those things are happening, but were you surprised at the way that you feel like society was responding in the moment?
I was trying to also put myself in the shoes of those who may not necessarily share the same religion. And I can see that, you know what, these are, without having much knowledge about the religion of a person who commits a horrible act like that, or individuals who are committing horrible acts like that. If I don't know much about them, I would also be like, you know what, man, these guys are no good, and anybody who stands with the same religion and all of that may not be good. Again, as an ignorant type of, you know, and we don't expect everybody to be educated and to be, this is sometimes a human reaction, where you blame many other people as well. But there were many lectures, there were many people who came up on TV, and they started clarifying things, you know, saying that, listen, this is not our religion. These people are not speaking in the name of our religion. Our religion is Islam, and Islam means peace. It starts with peace. What kind of peace is this if it's going to terrorize innocent people? You know, what kind of religion is this? I mean, this doesn't make sense. This is not us. So when these things were explained out there, when these things were being, and again, I cannot blame everybody, because not everybody is going to have access and everybody's going to hear an imam or somebody talk. But overall, people heard it, and we still saw an increase actually of crime towards Muslims. You know, increase of hate, increase of crime, and you hear stories all the time, and it's like people, it felt like some of them, they knew it, but they still wanted to exercise their hate, despite the fact that there is enough information out there that says otherwise, you know. And that's what kind of bothered me when I would be hearing stories like that. But I also know the fact that media, throughout the years, they did not necessarily play a positive role in in really portraying the true picture of Muslims and Islam. You know, they would be interested more in whatever it's breaking news and commenting, analyzing, going into so many things relating that negative breaking news, instead of, hey, let's bring somebody to talk about religion. Why is Islam is very close to Christianity, or why Muslims, for example, why, let's say, certain countries around the world they do good when it comes to practice of religion. Why in Turkey you don't have an extremism in the way how religion is being practiced? Why Indonesians, for example, or why, all of these things. And I'm not saying that these are going to be the headline news, but there should be programs, there should be more programs to when you know that you have a society that is being afraid, and they don't know much about religion, it's probably your responsibility, your moral responsibility, to update your own people. You're in charge of the media here. You have a certain responsibility to do that, moral responsibility.
Yeah.
But people are going more, in materialism and whatever fits.
You make more money when you
exactly.
When you have people
So
afraid.
that's the sad part. That's the sad part where, we saw it during those years.
It's sad because I think it's still true today. Even like fear is such a good motivator to make money, and so a lot, not all, but a lot of our media doesn't necessarily want to show all of the narrative, even if they might show some of the truth. They don't want to show all of it because that would make things, I guess less sensational.
Yeah.
And that is not something that sells. That's not something
I
that,
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to, as I said, you have to do what is morally right too, a little bit. Even if you don't go for a 60 minutes interview, maybe go for 5 minutes, or do something towards it, so you can you can do something that is ethical and unite people instead of dividing people.
I love that.
Yeah. That's so good.
So.
And that's our hope, as we have these conversations, that we are a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. So, man, thank you for sharing that. So, I mentioned earlier how I was able to attend one of your Friday night gatherings. Can you talk to people and just share with them, what does community look like? For your people at your mosque, you could say the name of it too.
Yeah,
but what's community like for you guys?
So community is a place of gathering, a place of unity, a place of spirituality, a place of peace, a place of prayers, a place of help for each other, and many other things more. The community is called United Islamic Center of Arizona. And we started this in 2014, and it has been now about 8 years or so. Before, we used to perform prayers in a different mosque, which is still ongoing right now. It's called Greenway Masjid. But we most of the community moved out from that small mosque into something that was bigger.
Yeah.
And there were many reasons involved with that, but that's not the time right now to go over the details there.
Yeah.
But we had to wait for about 2 years, and then 2 years later, in 2016, from 2014 to 16, we were able to gather some money and to purchase this bigger building, bigger facility. It used to be a church before, and they worked with us. So that's where we established, and our community is... one thing about our community is that it is very diverse, and we're proud of that. To be diverse. We always value the diversity, and we think that there is strength in diversity, without minimizing the challenges that come with it.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with different cultures, and you're trying to do things that are different ways of thinking. So you're bringing a bunch of people from different backgrounds and different cultures and all of that together into doing something that you want to standardize. You're talking about challenge right there, big challenges.
Yeah.
But if there is a unified way, or you standardize the way how you do certain things in the community and how you work together in the community, that's where you start seeing strength, because that's where people bring their wisdom, and they bring the best from their backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like if I'm Albanian, and if I have an Albanian culture, an American culture at the same time, I can incorporate some positive elements from my culture into this one right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And somebody who is, let's say, from Africa, and he has some other positive elements in his own culture from, let's say, from Morocco or from Senegal, let's say, and he inserts those positive elements in the way how he works with us, then it becomes a source of diversity right here. And the more diversity you have, the more better ideas, it functions way much better. More wisdom, more. And it's interestingly, there is a verse in the Quran that is very famous verse. It says, "O you people, we have created you from a single male and a female," referring to Adam and Eve. We have created you from a single male and female, and we have placed you in nations and tribes. Like, we created you from different tribes and nations around the world, in order for you to get to know one another. Like, this is really amazing that, like, we're still humans. We're created in different nations and tribes, but not so we can show off to each other, not so we can oppress each other. No, in order for you to get to know one another. By getting to know one another, there is a strength, because I learn something new. I gain some better wisdom from the way how you do things, or from the way how you do things, and you will learn from the way how I might do certain things differently that might be better. So that is the whole purpose. And it says that the best one of you is the one who is the most righteous. So right here, it closes the door for any show off. It closes the door for any aggression, for any fame. Somebody like, oh, I do this job, or I have this much money, or I have. No. The best one of you is the one who's the most righteous. And surprisingly, nobody knows how righteous the person is. Like, I don't know how righteous you are. You don't know how righteous I am. Therefore, I have no reason to assume then I am better than you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what's in your heart. I don't know how you are with God. I don't know how God looks at you. You know what I'm saying? So it closes the doors for anybody to show superiority of another person based on that righteousness,
That's really, really good.
So these are some important elements or important objectives that we have in our mind as we lead our community, as we deal with our community too. And we have been very inclusive. Being diverse, it leads to inclusivity, for sure. So we're very inclusive. Women in our community, they do amazing. Youngsters, youth committee we have, they do amazing as well. We have been not only helping our own people in dealing with different challenges, especially during COVID time, but we have been also dealing with people outside of our community who may not necessarily be Muslims at all, because our mission is not only to be good to our people, but also to be good to people who don't even know us or who are not even connected with us as well. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in one of his narrations that is narrated from him, he says, the best of people is the one who others, they benefit the most. It doesn't say only Muslims benefit the most, or only a certain nation or race benefits the most. No, the best of people is the one who others benefit the most from. As simple as that. So if you can make others benefit, if you can have others benefit from you, that's beautiful, whether they're Muslims, non-Muslims, anybody. Because we believe that everybody is created in the image of God, as Christians also believe.
Yes.
We believe that everybody is created in the image of God, meaning the attributes that God has and all of these good qualities, they are meant to also be adopted by human beings as well, internalized by human beings. And the second thing is that we believe that the human beings are honorable creatures, all of them, because the Quran says we have honored the children of Adam. So everybody is an honorable creature. That's why we look at everybody as an honorable individual.
Man, that's just really good. Man, so much to unpack and learn from that. But I love the idea of just being diversity and inclusion and all that kind of stuff. Like, we talked about this a few times on this podcast. It's just like, and then when you trap yourself into a box of I only around people who think like me, who look like me, who worship like me, who do the same things that I like, man, you rob yourself of a really full life of meeting people and get to know different cultures and get to experience different things, like you just rob yourself of all of that. And in some ways you rob other people of what you have to bring as well. And it's such a challenge for all of us who, no matter what walk of life you're in, it's such a challenge for all of us to challenge ourselves to get outside of ourselves. And, going back to your fear thing, I can imagine, some people listening to this or thinking about or pressing play on this podcast and being really afraid of what we have this imam here. And it's like, no, you don't have to be afraid of anything. You have to hold your heart open and have your hands open-handed to what people have to say. And that is within our community as Christians, and also outside of our community. There's just such a beauty in the way that God has made his creation, and we sometimes choose to not look at the beauty because we're selfish, we're scared, we don't want to be challenged, we don't want to think past what we've been given in our life. You guys talked about deconstructing and looking back, at our past and be able to say, hey, like there's some things that I want to revisit here. I just want to look at that, and we have to be willing to do that. And part of that is being able to connect with people who are different than us.
Yeah. And also grow in understanding. Some people, they choose to not to grow at all, okay, this is it, and I don't want to learn about anything else. So when you choose not to learn about other things, other cultures and other people, what happens is that you're afraid. Like, you think that this is your enemy. Mm-hmm. Like, as you were saying, like an imam being present and talking in a church and having a podcast and things like that. Like, what is he doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I love that phrasing too, because, Jesus taught us, the Christians, he said, like, even if they're an enemy, you love them. It doesn't matter how far you think they're on the other side away from you, you love them anyways. And so even if you consider somebody an enemy, maybe because of ignorance, total ignorance, right? Which is so often the case. Even if you consider somebody an enemy, you are to love them. That's what he told us to do. It's craziness sometimes that I don't know. I think Christians have really dropped the ball on that a lot. I've dropped the ball on that a lot in my life.
I think this is a universal thing, whether you're Christian or it may exist in some Muslim societies too, where they hate Christians, or where they may hate Jews, or where they may hate Buddhists, or whatever the case may be, without really knowing them, without really interacting with them. And at the end of the day, you come to know that people are people at the end. There are good ones and there is bad ones. Mm-hmm. There's the ugly ones, there is the good ones, the bad ones, right? Yeah. In every society,
That's true.
It depends sometimes on how people, they interpret things, and we just have to be, I think we have to be open-minded, and we have to be willing to also give the benefit of the doubt, and not always to assume the worst on the people, to say like, So this mentality changes only when you come to love people. As you mentioned, Jesus mentioned words like that, and that's really beautiful. And I think he cut it short. When Jesus says that love your enemy, he cut it short because he cut it short very beautifully, right? Like it's a word of wisdom, but you have to also do your homework to, as an individual, to know, like, if Jesus tells me to love, how can I love somebody without knowing that person? So that's why I'm saying he cut it short. But you first have to know that person, right? I mean, you go through knowing the person, and this is what we're also doing with our multi-faith neighbors network. Yeah, we're getting to know each other. We get to, for example, with Josh and with Jeremy, the rabbi. We had opportunities to gather here in Phoenix, in Washington D.C., Morocco, Abu Dhabi many times. And in our houses, lunches, dinners, in our community centers. Where we get to know them. We get to know each other. We get to know their community members and all of that. And you pass this level of knowing, and then you can start feeling comfortable with each other and even loving each other for those positive qualities that we stand for.
Yes.
So, I mean, again, you have to get through that stage of knowledge first, you
Yeah.
know, like knowing who you're dealing with, who are these people, knowing about their religion, knowing about their background and stuff. So like I said, people choose to ignore that part completely and just...
Yeah, that's just so true. Which kind of leads me to another question. Like, what are some common misconceptions that you just run into all the time that you just, hey, I want people to know this about, you know, your congregation, your religion? What are some common misconceptions that you feel like people need to wrestle with?
I mean, there are some basic misconceptions and there are some more deeper misconceptions. When it comes to the basic ones, I think talking about religion is Islam and Muslims, they have nothing to do with us. And I'm talking about Christians, right? So, as a matter of fact, Islam and Muslims are closer to you than anybody else out there. Why? Because Muslims, they believe in Jesus. You know, Muslims, they believe in Jesus. And Muslims, they believe that Jesus came with a revelation from God. Muslims believe in the apostles. Muslims believe that there were many righteous Christians who followed Jesus, and they will even go to paradise. Muslims believe that it is very important for them to work together, especially with these two other Abrahamic faiths, which is Christianity and Judaism as well.
Yeah.
And not just a belief, but even during the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he showed that through his examples. There was a delegation from Ethiopia that came to Arabia, where Prophet was living at that time in Medina, and they came for a dialogue with him, and he had dialogues with them. And it came time for prayer. These were Christians, right? So the prayer, and there was no church there in the city of Medina. So they were thinking where to do the prayers and all that. And Prophet comes to know about this, and he says, here's the mosque. You know, you do your prayers in the mosque. I mean, a typical Muslim will be kind of shocked even today, you know, if he sees a Christian, you know, having no other place except in a mosque there nearby to pray, you know. So Prophet did that 1400 years ago by telling them, here's our mosque, do the prayers right here inside of our mosque. So again, this is a big misconception that people think that Muslims are completely different religion. No, it is the same. We believe that it is the same God who revealed the same revelation to Adam, to Noah, to Abraham, to David, to Moses, to Jesus, and also to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and upon all of them, peace be upon all of them. So it was the same essential message, but they had different Sharia. And now when I'm mentioning the word Sharia, I know that this word has become very controversial, man.
Yeah.
You know, especially these two words like jihad and Sharia. Like, what is it, you know? Sharia, in our understanding, is the rules on how to apply your religion in daily life as an individual or as a society, as a community. That's the bottom line. That's what Sharia is. Rules regarding your religion, or the manual, if you want to say it. So we recognize that the message was the same in its essence: to believe in God, to believe in angels, to believe in the Day of Judgment, to believe in paradise, to believe in the hellfire, to believe in the reckoning, to believe in all of these important elements of faith, of our creed and your creed as well. And, you know, to hold people responsible for their deeds and all that. We're not a new religion. We're not something that all of a sudden popped up in Arabia and there is this Prophet Muhammad out of nowhere. He doesn't follow anything else and he just made up his own religion and no, absolutely. We have all of these elements that Christians have and Jewish people have. We do have them, and these are the essentials of faith. The Sharia, as I said, the law of living or implementing your religion in your daily life changes from Jewish people. They had Torah, they had certain laws, they had the Sabbath, they had, you know, certain things to uphold. And when Jesus came, you know, they had maybe there was a change of this. He did not come to abolish the law of Torah or anything like that, as it is mentioned in the Bible as well. But he came to change certain things. It's not going to be anymore the same exact way how it was for the Jewish people, but there were going to be some changes here and there. And also when Prophet Muhammad came, peace be upon him, there were some changes in the way how this religion was implemented in today's life. Like, for example, if Jesus did not say anything about alcohol, in the Quran, there was a revelation that prohibited that, for example, if Christians, they had a different way of worshiping, Muslims, they were obligated to do the 5 daily prayers, for example. See, essentially, it's the same thing. It's prayer. But here's you have the obligation for 5 daily prayers, and in a different tradition, that may be in a different format. So it is only the format that is changing, but it is not the essence that is changing. The essence is all the same. To believe in one God, to worship Him, and to do good to people. This is the basic. This is the essence of all of these 3 Abrahamic faiths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely see how there's a lot of similarities, and seeing that more from listening to you as well. And I think the beauty of being together, being here to dialogue and listen, is that we don't have to have all the same views. We don't have to have all the same all the same answers and beliefs in order to be here listening to one another and showing each other respect, mutual love, and showing dignity for the other person. As you said, we all believe it, that we're made in the image of God, so we can treat each other just like that without having to be, visceral about it, because I disagree on this one point, and therefore I have to attack you for some reason. That's what we don't have to do that. We can be in this together, because there are lots of similarities. There are lots of beautiful things. I love the image of God, the Imago Dei, right? And believing that together and being in it together to recognize that we're all are filled with this intrinsic dignity is so important. It's such where we have to stand whenever we're having a conversation like this. And so I really, really appreciate you being on this podcast today. I think we'll have to wrap it up here. We're running out of time. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I've learned so much from you today, and what you've shared. And I'm really excited for you that we had this chance, this opportunity. Thank you for driving down. You said you had like a 40-minute drive or something. So
thanks for
thanks for making the drive. And glad to have you on the podcast today. Do you have any final things you would love to say to our listeners?
I just appreciate I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate your leaders as well, who are very inclusive, not only to their community members, and they do an amazing job, but also to other faith communities, and look forward, to engage in conversations, in dialogues, and even work together. So this is something really amazing, and they're doing something different from many other evangelicals out there who may be, fearing to work with individuals like us or faith community members like us. And I'm very appreciative, very thankful to God first, and to every single person who contributes towards this positiveness, because at the end, we benefit from this. Our children in the future will be benefiting from this, and the society at large as well. So thank you.
Yeah. More wise words. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you so much for that.
Thanks.
I love it.
Appreciate that.
Again, thank you for being on the podcast today. And I think going back, sorry, I have to say one more thing.
Go for it.
I think sometimes that fear thing is because maybe sometimes we're worried we'll lose something special to us. And I think that's sometimes why we fear, is like, if I talk to that person and learn something maybe new, maybe I'll lose a part of myself. And I think when we, are truly believing what we believe, and we are confident in that, we don't have to fear. We don't have to worry about these things. We can sit down with a brother, a person, a human on the other side of the table and recognize that that's who they are. And I don't have to fear them because I'm confident in who I am. And so I see that in you, and I see that in our leadership. So humbled to be here. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening today. I hope you found this as enlightening as I have, as DJ, I'm sure you have as well.
For sure.
Thank you for being here with us today. If you are on YouTube right now, give us a like or a comment. That'd be super awesome. If you're on any of our podcasting platform, please give us a review. That helps people find us and be able to share stories like Didmar's today. We record here at Central Christian Church in Phoenix, Arizona. Our community here is pursuing the mantra of love beyond, which calls us to empathize with people who are different and build bridges of peace. If you're interested at all learning more about our church, check us out at centralaz.com. We have online services as well as a bunch of really cool locations throughout the Phoenix metro area if you're local. Well, that's it for today. We'll see you at next episode of Beyond the Lines. Until then, start loving beyond your lines. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.